While I was out on my run, I had a really cool inspiration and connection around heart and heart, like how to connect with our hearts. And I wanted to share. Okay, I haven't said this out loud. It was all just in my head. So bear with me. So, this whole thing about connecting with our hearts in order to then be in a place that's really conducive and a beautiful environment for connecting with our kids and is a way to model an environment that is very different than the experiences of anxious mind and emotion loops that we can all be susceptible to, but that when you see your kid in them, you really want to help them shift out of those. I was realizing, I'm like, okay, so how do we get into our heart? And I had this really fun experience with it where I was like, I was thinking in my head, I'm like, the issue is so many times when we imagine going into our hearts, we're like, all right, what would our heart think? Or what would our heart do? Or what would whatever? And we're thinking that thought. And then our mind comes up with a way we think our heart would respond. And often it's it's not true. Often there's not a depth and a deep truth to it. We're just thinking, what would our mind think our hearts would feel? And the thing about the mind is it often puts things like in weird places, like up on pedestals, and imagines that, for instance, I've talked with a lot of people who are in this place of like, oh my gosh, my heart would be like really kind or altruistic or blah, blah. And then that means like somehow they're not going to have any boundaries. Or it might mean that like people, if they have a closed heart, they might judge that and be like, no, my heart always has to be open. But then they're like, no, that's like going around the world undefended. And then, so this battle I find can occur, but it's not a battle between the heart and the mind. It's a battle all happening within the mind, around the mind thinking the heart would think or feel a certain thing. And then the mind responding by being like, but there's these reasons why it won't work and blah, blah. None of that, that's all happening upstairs. None of that is happening in here. None of it. You didn't actually connect here. We didn't connect here when we were in that conversation. So I have a way through this. It goes like this. You're in a situation and like, say you're like dealing with your kid and they're struggling or they're in a anxious moment or a worry or a stress or a fear, or they're just having a tantrum or they're just like struggling, whatever. And you go, oh my gosh, what would my heart think? Because like our hearts might be able to help us here. What would my heart think? And then here's your response. Ready? I don't know. I don't know. Okay. It's like that. It's like, I don't know. And you literally like throw things up in the air like, I don't know. Here's why I love this. Because A, your mind doesn't know. It's like asking the tree how the person feels. Tree doesn't know. It's like asking me how my dog feels this moment. I don't know. Let me observe the dog and get a sense from the dog. Not just me placed on top of the dog. Oh, well, it's like 2:30 in the afternoon and it's sunny out, so dog must be feeling. Like, what is that? That's not connected to anything. That's not actually connected to my dog. Okay? So just take a deep breath. Your mind is a totally different energy. It's a totally different powerhouse. It has its own skills, and they're not the skills of the heart. And it doesn't have to act like or pretend or overexert itself or overreach itself to imagine it knows. It doesn't have to know. It's not meant to know. It's not equipped to know. Chill, thoughts. Chill, brain. You ain't gotta know. Not your lane. Your mind, your thoughts get to be off the hook for knowing how to be present, for knowing how to be curious with your kid, for knowing how to like hold this space that's going to be this alternative to kids feeling anxious. It's not your mind's lane. It's not your mind's domain. It's like asking the engineer to do the HR job. Engineer don't know. You know who knows? HR person. The person trained in HR. You'll get what the engineer thinks the HR person would do. Or like in education, when we're, like, trained to, like, be teachers and stuff, and then people who have gone through school think they know all about a teacher's job when, like, if you were trained in this other thing, you might not know. It's possible you might not know. Could be. Could be. Okay? So this is all to say, let your mind chill. Let your mind take a break. You can experience this as, like, scary or, like, foreign or, like, "Well, what would I do otherwise?" And that's the beautiful challenge of it, right? Your mind, your thoughts, they're not the ones here. And we live in a time where our that is totally out of balance. There is this imagination that our thoughts are everything, and it's false. Look around the world, and we see human thought running. And we also see a lot of messes. And we also see a lot of places where heart wisdom would go really far and be really powerful. And our relationship with our kids is a beautiful example. And yes, our minds do support us greatly with things like knowing what time it is and being on time for school as much as possible, getting gas in the car so you can take your kids to the places they need to go, and, their uniforms washed in time for the game on Saturday. Thank you. Thank you. Okay. But there's so many places in that connection and in that relationship that the mind, it's not its lane. So it gets to chill. You get to take a back seat. And then your heart space is what gets to be front and center, lead the way. And it's beautiful and it's a relief. And so this space is all a practicing, being in connection with, understanding what even are the domains of the heart. And how do you live more and more from that place safely and responsibly and modeling it. So, number one, your kids can see that it's possible to live somewhere other than just in a constant stream of thoughts, some helpful, some bizarre, some fearful, some whatever, right? Give your kids the gift to know that there are other places to draw inspiration from, and there are other ways to be in the world. And our hearts are the masters of being. And so you get to develop that more and more. It models for your kids that there's another way to be, this way that is heart connected. And it also strengthens the connection and the relational space between you and your kid because you get to meet in that heart area. Yes, there are the places where you teach them in a, thoughts and mind-based way, teach them skills, help shape their behavior, but all the space in between that, thoughts and the mind, they don't need to be there. You get to just be with your kid.